Okay, so hi everybody, welcome back to Talking Therapy. And this week I'm very excited to have on the show Lana Kunstek. Is that the correct pronunciation? I'm not sure.
Yes, it's great.
And you're a therapist working in Denmark, and
Yes.
you've got an Instagram channel and a website and other exciting things going on. And so I usually kind of begin these things by just asking the interviewee, just to introduce themselves and say a little bit how your personal journey that you got to become a therapist and what you're doing now.
Okay, well, thank you so much for having me here. It's really my pleasure. And I'm actually originally from Croatia, and I work now live and work in Denmark. I started to introduce myself with the therapy as a client. So I was studying social work, and during my education, I became very interested in psychotherapy. And I don't know, for some, like, what I say, like serendipity, cosmic events, I came across body-oriented psychotherapy, which was not very famous or popular in Croatia. So kind of picked like the golden egg, as you would say. And yeah, and then I really started my journey, and I really fell in love with the work, and I could see changes in myself, in my life. And I have to mention that body was something I was very disconnected to throughout my childhood and my early adulthood. And really, like, when I've seen, wow, it's such an incredible life when you like really live it embodied. And I mean, we do experience life through our bodies. So then I kind of started to really like see the results of it. And by nature, I was also in the age where I was like trying to find my career path. And obviously I was a social worker, so to educate myself as a psychotherapist was very natural transition. And yes, and it was natural for me to start spreading it. I think that in like a personal development, you do reach a certain phase when you want to connect with other people, where you want to share your knowledge, and at the end of the day you want to create community to people who are alike.
Mm, mm.
And I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you. The picture went a little
Yeah.
frozen for a moment, but the words were fine.
Yeah, okay. So and another thing, I also decided at one point during my education that like, as like we personally carry some of the like a character structure patterns. I realized that also as a country and as a culture, we also carry patterns. So then I wanted to also explore myself outside of my homeland and the country that I grew up in, which has had a lot of traumas. So then I moved to Denmark. And yes, that was a challenge because I was like, how am I going to get clients? How am I going to start my work here? But then I said to myself, if I'm really like a good therapist and if I'm meant to do this work, clients will find me. And if I'm not, I'll just do something else.
Mm,
And
mm,
yes, it was easy. I came here, and it was nearly before Corona started. So everything just sort of started unfolding by nature. And I also started my Instagram account. It was everything sort of shifted online. So I kind of adapt myself. And it was very interesting to see how to like bring the work with the body, which is like fully alive and present, into the online world. That is like something that really brought up a lot of questions, but also passion to really, yes, we can do that.
mm, mm. Wow, yeah. I mean, it's like it is like because when I first, I mean, I started like a YouTube channel just kind of from my room like 5 years ago or something like that with bio and then bioenergetics with it, and then people were asking me for like a course or something like that online, and I was very dismissive at first, like, well, you cannot teach this stuff online. But
Yeah.
then I started to think about it a bit more and thought maybe I'm being a bit closed-minded here, and maybe I should just try. And so I ended up trying, and it went pretty good. So I think it's really worth trying different things and not being closed to new possibilities. Like you're quite big on Instagram now, or you've been running Instagram for a while. What's that like for you?
Oh, I've been on Instagram for like 2 years. I started with like 20 followers. It was like my friends and a few clients. But now, yeah, it's kind of growing, and I think that people really like feel the passion that I want to share. And I'm trying to also like find creative ways how to really present body psychotherapy, like work with the body, and to maybe share some exercises, tips, or something that they can use right here and now. And and yes, of course, I always have to remind them that this is not a substitute, but like the real work starts in the one-on-one sessions.
Yeah, I mean, what I like about doing videos and stuff is that it's kind of like traditional psychotherapy on a website. You like might see a photo of some person totally fixed and some little letters after their name or something like that. But on a video on social media, people can see you and feel you a lot more. And it's like for clients,
Yeah.
that's ideal, I think, because they get a kind of sense of who you are, and then they can think, well, that guy's interesting, or no, not for me. But they can kind of, it's one of the great aspects of working on video, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, probably as a therapist, we were like taught that we should be very natural, like mirror clients, and that's of course we not to like bring too much of a personality in the work, which is of course on one-on-one sessions important, but you cannot escape yourself. And I mean, I like want to teach people that they feel alive in their lives, that they allow the energy, the flow of life to flow throughout their bodies. And I have to practice what I preach. So I have to also do the work,
Mm.
and show them that, yeah, this is how we do it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I agree. It's like I mean, I came up from therapeutic school, which had more hierarchical kind of structure, which actually was
Hmm.
very powerful and worked very well. But it's kind of like in these days, 2021, people want you to be a bit more, okay, if I'm running groups, when I was running workshops for a long time, and now COVID, I kind of stopped that. But like, you are in a position of responsibility, and you have to hold the space and energy and be very clear for a few days, while the workshop's going on. And otherwise people won't trust the process and won't trust the leadership, but like that outside, I think it's really useful for therapists just to come down off any kind of pedestal and just kind of just chat to people and stuff as well, or
Mm.
not to overly construct some kind of artificial personality, in some way. It's like we have to kind of reinvent therapy a little bit for the internet age, I think, and I don't
Yes, I
know,
mean,
it's got to start.
absolutely. And these are our clients now. They are all online. So we are connecting with them in this online world. And what I definitely feel is that what you said with the hierarchy, that it's important to be humans, first of all, and to really approach as humans, and from our own personal authenticity, because I cannot escape my own skin, so
Mm.
I am who I am. And at the end of the day, I mean, clients do find you who resonate with you, whether you are on a pedestal or you're just having a video from your bedroom.
Mm.
you
Mm.
know
Yeah, totally. So how come you ended up going to Denmark anyway? Like from Croatia, sounds. I don't know how many. I don't know if it's a strange kind of transition, but
Well, it's actually very logical transition, because when I was growing up, there was a lot of trauma in the Balkans and in the Croatia, because there was a war. And although I wasn't affected directly with the war, I was affected on a collective level. So I remember the fear. At least my body remembers the fear, and remember the atmosphere. And Croatia is still a country that is going through healing process, I would say.
mhm.
So as much as things are not as they were 30 years ago, but you could still feel the energy of this collective trauma that really happened. And Denmark is like safe, you know so I actually have a friend who lives here, and I came to visit, and I was like, oh my God, when I really feel the energy in the city around it, I could just breathe and feel grounded and safe without pushing myself and forcing myself. So, and I also remember I had a teaching in my training. We were having a trauma teaching, and I remember all of the memories that came to me were memories about us being in the basement and uh, not knowing the uncertainty of what's going to happen. So then I was like, okay, now I really feel it's the moment that I move, and then I really see what else is out there for me and how
Mhm.
can I nourish myself in the environment. And I have to say, Denmark is doing a great job
Mm,
so far.
mm, mm.
Although I have to say, now I'm starting to like kind of feel the need to like express myself more. Maybe that's just like a post-COVID situation, but now I'm kind of miss the sun a little bit, you know, and really like this full embodied expression.
Mhm, mhm. So like, I mean, and like, what do you mean? Because the Danish are a bit quiet in some way, or because just like that's just that you've been kind of in lockdown or that kind of thing? I'm not sure how
I
how,
I mean,
how it's been
I
in
mean, the
Denmark.
atmosphere is definitely people are not crossing each other's boundaries on the streets. Nobody's yelling. Yes, they're very quiet as a nation. I mean, I'm like totally generalizing
Yeah.
now. Of course, it's not like that. People are people, and they're different people. But this is just my personal perception that I was like going to towards something that I felt I needed, and I maybe could have gone to the North Pole. I don't know, you know. So
No, cool. Cool. Yeah. Well, I won't. I don't know. It's kind of what I find interesting, like coming because I was in the UK for a long time, and then I just came over here for a few months just to check it out.
Mhm.
Because what with all this working online, it also means I can move around basically as well, you know. And I don't have
Yeah,
kids, so it's like I don't have any big responsibilities. And yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see people in different countries and actually be there for a while, and especially with this knowledge of kind of Reichian character structure and see how the
oh
people.
yeah,
It's
oh yeah.
interesting. It's interesting. And like, I mean, I don't really know the Ukraine to be honest, because I've only really been in Kiev. But like, yeah, you can see that. I can see that, you know, this kind of rigidity in the people, but it kind of comes from like the '80s. It's very similar to because I was challenging this American guy the other night, and I realized it's kind of very similar to how life was when I grew up, kind of in London and east of London in the '80s and '90s. You know, it's very very similar with everyone's in a kind of archetypal role. The men all want to be really male, and the women all want to be really female or glamorous or something like that. And it's kind
Mm-hmm.
of cool as well, you know. I mean, when I was doing a lot of therapy myself, you know, we were kind of brought up where we kind of came to believe, you know, that rigidity was a huge problem, and also being an Osho person. But I'm kind of changing a little bit my opinion on it somewhere, you know. It's like it's complicated, you know. Things are kind of complicated. So
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
yeah, it's a journey, you know. It's a journey that going to different places and seeing the people and learning stuff, you know.
Yeah, I mean, and it's at the end of the day subjective, I have to say. But yeah, of course, we with some knowledge that we have about character structures, we can observe definitely.
Mm, mm. So what kind of so in your work you're working with clients one to one and running groups or doing online stuff? What kind of
Well, I was running groups back in Croatia. Right now, I'm working one on one, still online, but some in person. And I recently started also doing like this online program. So now I'm kind of curious how that's going to turn in a way that as you said, mentioned earlier, when you prepare for the workshop, you kind of like hold the space and the energy, and you feel the people. So this is like very interesting, and it's new because I cannot have full control on who's applying and what is their experience like. So, but I definitely feel I kind of feel that I can, in a way, subtly, let's say, feel people who are part of it. And
mhm,
I always encourage everyone to reach out, to connect, to also join on individual sessions. So that's definitely a new experience, and I'm definitely feel like I'm going out of my comfort zone, but
mhm,
it's the way to grow and adapt. We have to adapt, you know, especially I cannot preach about embodiment, and one of the main things about fully present, being present in the body, is like being resilient and adaptive to new situations. So
Totally. You know, I mean, it was for me like kind of, I mean, in a sense, you know, I kind of appreciated COVID in some ways because it was like, you know, like it's like, okay, it's like a test, you know, on a sense, you know, do you have resilience? Are you present in your body, or do you, you know, do I always need to know exactly what's going on or something, or I get thrown into huge anxiety? You know, it's like, I'm quite grateful to the journey that these things provide, you know, and I think, I don't know, I mean, it's just like, it's also like people are becoming a bit more disembodied really somewhere, you know, in the last 20, 30 years. And it's like, I don't know, I'm kind of interested to see, is there at some point, like, you know, a dam kind of bursts inside people and they just, you know, they need this reoccupation of the body, you know, or something. I don't know if that will happen or not, but I mean, I hope it does. You know, it seems, you know, I don't know, sometimes I look out at the world and there's all these pills for and strategies for anxiety and whatever, and depression, but they don't really work, or they do for a little bit and then it comes back or whatever, you know. And you kind of think, well, all this stuff I learned in therapy school, you know, and it's not like it's perfect or a complete cure, but there's actually a lot that can be done for virtually no money for a lot of low level mental health conditions. I don't know, I'm just disappearing off a little bit here, but like, you know, it's
yeah,
kind of,
absolutely, yeah.
I just kind of wonder, you know, will there be a point where it just starts to manifest, and some of the kind of this bulwark of kind of scientific rationalism and this very male kind of mind that demands evidence for anything before they'll even lean over forwards and do a position, you know, they've got to have like, you know, some kind of peer-reviewed paper about it or something like that. You know, will that break open at any point and something shift? I don't know, you know.
Well, that we're gonna have to stay and see. But I completely resonate with what you're saying. And I have to say, I feel like body psychotherapy, but also like conscious dancing, and a lot of like, I feel like embodiment is like big in this day and age, more than it ever was. And I remember when I started working, nobody knew about what is like a body oriented psychotherapy, but now people, they already know. So that means that it's gaining more popularity, which I would say it only shows that people do want to come back into their bodies. And there is a lot of talk about trauma also these days. And here I think working with your body is one of the main approaches. And because you can't talk about it, but you can at the end of the day just re-traumatize yourself. So I kind of see it in a positive way, that we are coming back to our roots. That is our body, but you never know. I mean, yes, we're just gonna have to wait and see. But I totally know what you're saying. And people, and especially with this like a virtual reality and holographic realities, it's like really we experience with our body something that is like completely unreal. I was just saying how the holographs and virtual reality really, like, people do experience this kind of realities which are not real, they're not tangible. So it's only about asking your consciousness and about the consciousness. So okay, I perceive this as real. What in fact is real? You know, what can I hold on to? You know what I mean? Like I really hope that in that question, that question does not produce even more anxieties, but maybe like, okay, maybe I could really like step into really feel, okay, I'm flesh and blood, I'm real, my body is real, I'm here, you know, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I feel like, I don't know, just looking at the last 10, 20 years, we're kind of like, I saw this guy who runs Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, you know, and he's launching his new company with like these virtual reality headsets and stuff. And you just kind of think like, you know, it's something I just thought was mad when I was, you know, doing therapy and being a therapist, training as a therapist. But like, maybe humanity just has to go there, you know, that you have this option to just kind of lie in a bed and do nothing, but just have these exciting experiences through these goggles. And then, I don't know, you just have to see what happens, kind of. Maybe we just have to go there and see what happens. I remember this there was like a Bruce Willis film about a decade ago or something called
Hmm.
Surrogates or something, and it was all about people. It wasn't like a great movie, but it was all about
Hmm.
people. They kind of lived in their beds, and then
Oh, really?
they all had these kind of things they put on, and then they had and it made a kind of idealized version of them, like they were 20 again and stuff, and going around doing meeting each other, being really cool, or having sexual experiences with each other or whatever, but it was all done just with them lying down in their beds. And then one day the whole system broke or something, the electrics went wrong, and they had to get up out of bed, and they were all old and kind of crotchety, and then they had to start
Oh,
meeting each other again, and I don't know, maybe it's going to come true like that somehow, I don't know. It's like, I don't know. I mean, it just seems like we're just going there, with not much kind of real pushback, I mean, yes, people are interested in embodiment now much more than, that even that word I hadn't really heard until like 5 years ago, and now it's everywhere,
yeah,
and
exactly.
porno as well, is everywhere and stuff. And but at the same time, it's like, yeah, well, yeah, well, who knows what will happen.
But I agree also with what you said. It's about the freedom. The more freedom we have to choose, and that's definitely somewhere where definitely humanity is going. And what I also see now after COVID, there's like a movement. I read somewhere that a lot of people are like quitting their jobs and trying to find the new ways to work and to create something. So we are witnessing now some pretty interesting times.
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, there's definitely some kind of global, or anyway, some kind of shift trying to happen, certainly in the West. I mean, yeah, yeah. So, well, is there anything in your kind of what do you like to do as a therapist? Do you have any kind of specialities, or in working with people, or whatever?
Special. Oh, that's my teacher is now gonna be what be careful what you're gonna say. No, I'm joking. I like to work with women, but I can't say that actually. I really can't say. I don't know. Um, I really don't know. You mean like couples therapy, anxieties, and things like that?
No, no, anything that you just feel like's your speciality, or whatever. I don't know. I mean, you don't have to talk about that or something else,
Yeah,
It's
I don't. I know it's a great question. I just never thought of it. I'm thinking now. Yeah, I mean, I like to work with people who are open to work, Then basically therapy just happens by itself, and then you can like really witness shifts and changes. And I mean, if somebody comes because they want to see how you work, what is the approach, or maybe their neighbor or their boyfriend said you have to be in therapy, then I can like I can like jump around them. Nothing is gonna change. So what I really noticed, the best the client is the one who is actually doing therapy.
Mm,
We are mostly, I would say, the ones who are like giving them different type of keys and showing different type of doors, but in the end of the day they're the ones who are doing it. So I would definitely say that if somebody is really motivated to change, that is then it's just really beautiful. Then I really like come home with an open heart. Oh, such a, like a beautiful connections I really witness.
mm, mm. Well, yeah, yeah. It is wonderful when you have a client who just you can just feel they're just super up for it, and they've got the kind of energy. I guess I get maybe, I don't know, 1 in 5, 1 in 10 like that, or something like that. I mean, I don't do tons of one-to-one work, but yeah, yeah. I mean, something I notice these days in particular, I don't know, because I've been a therapist about 10, 12 years, I guess, but something I notice is a lot of, I mean, also because I'm on YouTube and it's a lot of young guys in their 20s and stuff, but like
Mm.
everybody just wants a quick fix for everything, It's,
Oh
well,
yeah,
they just totally want
yeah.
a quick fix, that doesn't really, just something that could just get me functional, or get me a girlfriend, or get me a job, or whatever, just really, really quickly, and that's how everything is kind of sold, So even I often, when I'm making videos, will give it like a thumbnail, thing like do this to help work this, and that, and I don't be totally deceptive in it, but it's just like, it's hard to get people's attention these days in a certain way.
Yeah, it is, and there is a lot of things out there. There is a lot of content, and yeah, it's hard to grab people's attention. But I feel that people really feel something, and I think they, at the end of the day, they feel something inside of them, if they're really motivated. Because I had clients who come for just like 2 3 sessions and then never see them again. I also had some clients who would like come for a couple of sessions and then they would call me like a year after, okay, now I'm ready. So I mean, you never know what is somebody going through, and they really have to be ready. Like therapy is your journey, not mine. I cannot do the work for you, So I mean, but mostly I worked with I don't work with people who have mental illnesses like borderline or bipolar disorder. So that is just I don't work with them. I but usually like a lot of people who are going through breakups. That's maybe my specialty.
Hmm. Hmm.
People who are going to like a crisis, or like they're in some shifts in their life, want to make a change.
Mm.
I would say then people are really like starting to go within.
Mm. Well, I really see, in people, and I write about this stuff a little bit in some of my books, but like, really people start to move forwards with something, and of course, in this world, we always get knockbacks, whether it's a relationship or a job or a new plan that you have, there's always going to be something that knocks you back. And then, if you can just find a way to at least not collapse completely and give up, if you can just find some way to get enough support to at least stay in that space for a little while and then maybe start moving forwards again, then there's nothing really stopping you in life. It's not so complicated. But
Yeah,
so many people just, they get one knockback and it's just collapse, get totally wasted, never going to do that again or whatever. And it's like, I don't know, it's kind of a bit crazy in a way, because there is a lot of potential that people could unwrap if they could just get enough support to keep moving forwards. And because the world is always going to be a challenging place, it's just always going to be a challenging place, and I don't know. It's like that. People just need to recognize somewhere. If you want something, you do have a right to move towards it, and you just need at some time. You will get knockbacks, and you have to accept that and find what support you need. It's often what I tell people.
that is so right. I actually read somewhere a quote where I really like. It's like success is not like a lack of failure, but like resistance to failure, or resilience to failure. Like, yeah, life will knock you down, and if you just keep on going and feel good, and like find also a way to nourish yourself during the process,
Mm-hmm.
and be there for yourself, things will eventually happen. I am always like a positive thinker, not in a toxic way.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've just seen it so many times. Anyway, I guess it's just human nature, but it is a shame that people don't just somewhere. I mean, men in particular really struggle to kind of reach out and to. It's so easy for young guys to just go in kind of bro mode, where they just kind of, they're competitive and they're doing this thing and whatever. They're just kind of lost in this kind of thing, and maybe it's inevitable for 10 years when you're young and you're teenager and 20s and stuff, but like it's really good for men to be able to just like speak about what is not working in some way. I think women do that far better with other women. I don't know in Denmark, but I guess it's the same. It's just easier somehow for women to speak about the bits that they're a little bit scared about speaking about normally socially with another woman or something that they trust. And guys, I don't know if they've yet made use of that facility, really, guys. I don't know. I mean, the culture's changing as well, but
Yeah, I definitely do know what you mean. It's harder for men to open up and to allow emotions to flow and speak about emotions. And maybe like maybe it's easier like with aggression, but or anger. But when it comes to sadness and vulnerability, it's definitely a challenge. And yeah, I mean, open your heart is always a challenge, but
mm,
it's always like I always say like yes, you're like hiding from sadness, but you're also hiding from joy, you know. Like heart is like beautiful, magnificent organ that stores all of our emotions that we didn't allow ourselves to feel, but also the beauty and the joy and like wow, like when you really can admire something that is like bigger or greater than yourself. And yeah, that's I definitely do know what you mean. It's easier for women to step into that space. Maybe it's like because we were not we were brought up differently
Mm.
uh, to express. But I would also say it's harder maybe for women to like really be in their power and aggression and to say fuck off and you know, to have like clear boundaries. And I've seen actually worked with also a lot of younger women who had difficulties setting sexual boundaries.
Mm.
So that's definitely something that we don't talk about because we always, especially when the topic is rape, we always feel like there's somebody gonna be pull my hair and hit me in the head. But actually, it's also like the topic of boundaries. Can I really say no? We clear no,
Mm.
and without uh, without the fear that that my boundary will still be crossed and that I possibly will be attacked. If that makes sense. So.
Mm. Well, yeah. I totally see that. My perception of the world is very. It's still in many ways, you know, there's battles that go on all the time at some level. One between men and women, which is, I think, becoming much more obvious these days. I mean, another one is between older and younger people, which is a
Oh yeah.
much less obvious. But between men and women, this it's like the minute the men have got a lot of the power in the world in certain ways, and then they definitely set up society so that women are kind of kept down in a certain way, and fundamentally through a kind of fear, basically, of women being strong. I absolutely see that. I mean, being a sannyasin, of course, because around Osho and stuff, and I wasn't originally around the original Osho himself, but in communities afterwards, were very matriarchal, and it was kind of interesting to be in a structure where the women had all the power roles and the men just kind of did stuff just day to day stuff. It was kind of interesting to see that, and you see the strength of women, and when they're in their power, it's interesting to have that diversity, and it's kind of a shame that it's not easy for people to get that diversity in the world, because it's kind of, even though there's so many different cultures, the vast majority of them, I'm sure, are still very male kind of dominated in many ways, and it creates a kind of
Yeah.
guilt or fear in men or whatever. And it's actually pretty cool just to experience a more matriarchal structure for a while. You might not like it very much, or it might have its own dramas and stuff, but it's certainly worth having the experience.
Yeah, and I would what I also feel is like more and more women are kind of beginning to step into their strength and their power and their like strength basically. But it's more difficult for men to accept their vulnerability. And if we're not strong and vulnerable at the same time, no matter what sex we are, men or women, we're not living our full potential. you know
Mm,
so definitely see the challenges now on men to really say, okay, now I am allowed to fully be what I really am. And that is maybe sometimes a young boy who needs attention or a love or just a pat on the shoulder, you're doing a great job, or whatever
mm,
that is. Don't Men don't have to be like over masculine all the time. That doesn't make them more of a man. you
mm,
know
mm. Well, yeah, I mean, it is kind of there is this kind of pressure from society to behave a certain way, and it's not
yeah.
always useful. I mean, at the same time, men have to learn somewhere to also really stand up in today's world as well, because it's also not, even though it's kind of very patriarchal and male dominated for society, that doesn't necessarily mean that young men get much of a good deal out of it, really. I mean, they also seem to need a lot more. Women seem to be better at kind of developing or getting what they need when they're young, and men much more need like a kind of father figure, or they need some form of male kind of clan that they can get into and that initiates them in some way or other into just being male, and feeling okay to be with other men, without women around. It's kind of, I think since the industrial era kind of declined a bit or whatever, but that would be cool to see a bit of that coming back as well. But I don't know. I mean, whether it'll happen.
But that's actually true. I have had some clients who I was like, you know what, I would maybe recommend that you find a male therapist,
Mm,
because there are just some things that you're just going to recreate your patterns with me, and you really need exactly what you said, like this male figure you could look up to, and to really like learn more what does it mean to be a man, to really step into your manhood.
mm,
So yeah, definitely, I couldn't agree more with that. It's important. I really hope that we are going in that direction, and not just us as therapists, but also people who are parents who have boys and also girls. But
mm,
yeah,
mm. Well, I guess the world is in this exploratory phase, and yeah, I mean, I feel good that I can put the work I do and the techniques and understandings that I have, that I can just put them into somewhere open source, like the internet, where people, if they're meant to find them or whatever, can find them. That feels meaningful for me. But
yeah,
there's a limit to what you cannot. I don't know. I actually think, because I can get for a while very political or whatever in my mind and blah blah blah, but it usually kind of changes direction all the time. And as a therapist, I'm kind of aware that I'm not a good person to talk to about how the world should be, because it's not really something I can make a coherent opinion about. It's kind of strange. And I think it's partly because all the time we kind of direct ourselves, or for me anyway, I direct myself, or have to direct clients back to what's really going on internally, as opposed to, whether the world is wrong or right, however they're experiencing it in this moment. It's like,
mm,
so I'm trying to kind of, well, not trying, but I recognize that I'm not very good at deciding how the world should be, and maybe that's really not my role in any way either.
I know exactly, yeah, what you mean. It's about the person who is in front of you, and also like myself, what's right for me, you know, what the world should be like for me, and what is that I could like put and express into this world and bring into this world. And I really love what you said, that just put your content and your knowledge, and it does like bring people more into their bodies, and it kind of, you can see the result. And I think that's beautiful when like what you give out sort of comes back, and we all have like our unique talents. So like a good life is not the same for me, you, or for Joe. So yeah, I also totally agree. I don't know what the world should be like. I don't have that like agenda and the cause to change the world. I used to did when I was more of a social worker. Yeah, social justice for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm more like individuals are the one who are creating collective consciousness in the end of the day. So what you can do is be there for yourself. I don't know about the
Well, you can shine the light inside of you, can't you? And that's, I think you're doing. I think you do that very well, Lana. Just
thank
chatting to
you.
you, you allow yourself to come out, and it's like you have a beautiful presence.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And that's what we can do. Be ourselves as well. It's like that's kind of finally it somewhere.
But I feel that's like the biggest challenge. That's like the quest, how to really know who you are and then to really live it.
Mm, 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 mm. You got anything else you'd like to say or mention about your work, or even promote or whatever?
I think I really enjoyed this conversation, and thank you so much for having me. I don't know, I feel like we reached some really like interesting questions and topics. We could like talk for hours about it. But yes, I work as a therapist in Denmark. I have private practice here, and I run Instagram account. Now I started with online courses, so whoever is interested can find me.
Mm,
And
mm. Cool, cool. Thank you very much for coming on, and I wish you all the very best. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and you too.
Hey.